Action Comics.
It's no use. I cannot revive Superman. He is over 1 million years old. In minutes, he'll turn to dust.
If the healer failed, no one can save him. Featuring even a Superman dies. Superman, more than 1 million years old, the Man of Steel has lost all those he loved, for they belong to a past so remote it is scarcely remembered. Is he doomed to live on in a strange universe, or will we finally see the day when even a Superman dies? I lived on after my home world Krypton exploded. And now I'm still alive when Earth is a lifeless sphere. I've outlived 2 planets, so I'll perform my last super deed and my greatest. I'll start by splitting Earth in 2. Deep within the Milky Way galaxy, a strange floating train drifts through space. Great suns! 5 spacemen, frozen in suspended animation. Maybe those ice spheres were part of an emergency safety device to protect the astronauts from death in space. Yes, it's Superman, but not the Man of Might we know from 1970, for this is the year 801,970, and Superman has aged every year. I could defrost them with my heat vision, but it's been so boring in this blasted future era. I think I'll revive them in a more dynamic way. Next moment, he is hauling the 5 frozen astronauts toward the nearest star. Rainbow suns like this would be considered freak phenomena in the 20th century, but in the 2020th century, there are several. This would have thrilled me once, an eternity ago. Now, even the most spectacular feats don't give me a charge. I'm just too tired of doing my thing. And after Superman deposits his thawing passengers on a nearby planetoid. Looks like I got them here just in time. All the astronauts are reviving now. Look, Ron, unless I'm dreaming, that's the legendary Superman who rescued us. But he's so old. He was supposed to have been a young man when he vanished back in the 20th century. Just what year is this? 801,970. By Sirius, our spacecraft broke down 5,000 years ago. And we've been frozen in our preservo spheres ever since. But that makes Superman over 8,000 centuries old. Where have you been all this time? Why did you disappear from Earth? How did you live so long? Questions. The answers are too painful for me to talk about. I can only move on. But first, I'll put that passing ship to good use. Suddenly, a laser-thin heat beam shoots out across space. I traced all the control mechanisms with my X-ray vision, And now I'm fusing certain components so the ship will be forced down on the planetoid for repairs. Those 5 astronauts will be picked up. I've had it here. All I can do is accelerate into the time barrier and propel myself into the future again. Why is the aged Superman suffering this tortured existence, always hurtling further and further away from the Earth of 1970? It all started one day when Superman had to journey to a future era. I promised not to fly through the time barrier for 24 hours because the impact of my super speed might disrupt a critical atmospheric experiment being conducted today. But I can use this time bubble the Legionnaires left here in my fortress. Operable but defective, should not be used. The bubble won't upset the space-time continuum, as I would alone. It's risky using a defective machine for time travel, but it seems to be working. There are people in the future who need my assistance at once. But upon arrival, the Man of Steel discovered the terrible result of the bubble's defect. Great Krypton! I traveled 100,000 years ahead in time, but I must have aged every year along the way. Momentarily forgetting his own plight, Superman valiantly came to the future people's aid. But meantime, the Time Trapper, a long-time foe of Superman, was preparing a dreadful fate for his enemy. Superman thinks his return trip to 1970 will reverse the terrible aging effect the bubble had on him. But he's due for a super shock. Mission completed, Superman soon found out for himself. Some kind of invisible obstruction has sealed off the time barrier. It's impenetrable. Impenetrable it was. The Action Ace had no choice but to stay or move forward in time. The past is off limits, but the future keeps beckoning me to explore it. I'm on an eternal one-way treadmill. That's it, Superman. Keep moving. It took all my genius to create the immense temporal wall between you and the past, but watching your misery will pay me back. And so, we rejoin Superman in space after emerging 1 million years ahead of 1970. I'm anxious to see how Earth has developed during all these blazes. What is this? The anguished man of might zooms toward his adopted home planet. Or what's left of it. I guess I should have expected this. After 1 million years of pollution, war, and untold abuses from man, Earth has been simply used up. It's just a contaminated globe of waste material now. And at that moment, approaching from another direction.
Then Planet 446 is directly ahead. Observation confirmed. Now we must carry out our orders and remove this ugly thing.
The next moment, Superman witnesses a terrifying sight. Moons of Krypton, the size of those monster robots staggers even my mind. they're carrying the Earth as if it were a basketball. Zeroing in for a closer look, the Man of Steel's telescopic vision sees. So, that's the situation. Earth is considered nothing but an eyesore now, rubbish that should be removed. Those king-size junkmen will probably carry it off and disintegrate it. Galactic Sanitation Department. Contaminated or not, Earth is still my planet, and I'm not going to see it demolished for some Keep Space Beautiful campaign. But when the Man of Might attempts a direct attack, I can forget brute force. These robots are so gigantic. I'd have to rip into them for hours before they'd break down. And by then, Earth might be shaken to bits. There's only one fast way to stop them, but it involves some high-speed brain surgery. I'll enter this garbage collector's head through its eye. And in the mammoth internal maze within the colossal automation, though the technology is infinitely more advanced than 1970s, the system here is still basically electronic in nature. I've cannibalized some of the components from this thing's monstrous brain to make a special unit of my own. Touching both poles of this ultra battery has charged my body and supervision with positive energy. Soon, I'll have every component of this robot saturated with a super positive charge. Moments later, after repeating the same process inside the brain of the other mechanical man, now both robots are overflowing with positive energy. And as everyone knows, unlike charges attract and like charges repel. There go the robots, millions of miles in opposite directions. Now, to see if I can give Earth some new life and a new look. What kind of remodeling job does Superman have in mind? The action ace then proceeds to drill through the Earth again and again, 5,000 times a second. And only moments later, astonishingly, just as I planned, my super speed drill pattern has split the planet open like an apple. Now, to fuse the two halves together. The internal fires of the Earth's center have long died out, but the minerals here are fresh and untapped, not contaminated like the outer surface. Next step, replace a cold vacuum with a life-giving atmosphere. Soon, after scouring a dozen planets in mere minutes, at last, the right combination of gases for new Earth. This planet is so immense it can spare plenty of these giant clouds. It's a bit of a strain, but my lungs are powerful enough to suck in this entire cloud and compress it under super pressure. Then, the Man of Steel zooms back toward Earth, carrying a super breath of life with him. I'll keep flying back and forth, transplanting clouds until the Earth's twin surfaces are completely covered with air. At that moment, 3 million miles away, Superman is in our range at last. After thousands of centuries, we finally pinpointed him. Now we'll seek him out and fulfill our destiny. Seeding these transplanted clouds with special minerals is causing torrential downpours. Soon, New Earth will have its own oceans and lakes. Next, Superman flies to remote worlds all over the galaxy for exotic forms of alien plant life. I must be careful to select vegetation that can thrive on Earth-type minerals. I'll have to restore the balance of nature on Earth. I must choose only species of alien animals that can exist and multiply in the environment I've created. Soon, the action ace makes one final trip to a young planet still in its prehistoric era. I've located the type of human inhabitants I want on this alien world. Now, for the most important addition to New Earth. All these aliens are physically similar to the prehistoric men who inhabited Earth ages ago. And that young couple is exactly what I want. After sealing the cave entrance solid with rocks, Superman begins his last transplant. I don't want these two to feel homesick on New Earth, so I'm taking their home with them. My heat vision will keep them from freezing during this super speed space trip. And it isn't long before something beautiful has been finished. Now, like Adam and Eve, that primitive couple will start another human race. I've given Earth a second chance to flourish and prosper. The planet has been reborn. Pleased with his work, the Man of Steel leaves New Earth. What a strange feeling. There's nothing left for me to do now. I've just performed the ultimate feat of my super career. All I can look forward to now is an eternity of boredom. Superman! We've searched a million years and countless worlds for this moment. Now is the time for the kill. Die! A moment later, the motionless form of the Metropolis Marvel floats limply in space. What is this strange pint-sized spacecraft? How could it doom the immortal champion who was so invulnerable he apparently couldn't die? For the answers, we jump back in time. 10,000 centuries to the year 2000 in Metropolis, where the villainous Lex Luthor visited a shrine. Most people believe Superman died years ago, but no one could ever convince me. There was no body, no will, no solid evidence of death. He could be anywhere, perhaps on a distant world, or even in another time era. He may have traveled into the future, but I'll find him when I'm dead. Luthor's diabolical genius made sure he could destroy Superman even long after his own death. My heart will give out soon, but the instant I die, my evil psyche energy will be automatically transferred to that killer drone. I shall become its fuel, and it will take off in search of Superman. And soon afterward, when Luthor did die, my body is dead now, but the psyche energy of my brain lives on as I planned. The killer drone is absorbing me so I may power it. And soon I won't be alone. From century to century, planet to planet, Luther's creation moved on, picking up new fuel whenever possible. Varlantro is paying for his crimes with his life. The execution dome is turning that killer to vapor. But this ship will absorb his evil psyche force. And with each added psyche bolt, the drone's power increased. We can convert our store of pure evil energy into the most destructive weapon ever known in the universe. Even Superman won't be able to live through a blast like this. But though the killer drone did strike at the Man of Might, he still lives.
My life pulse sensors detect a very faint heartbeat from that wounded humanoid ahead. He'll die unless I treat him. I'll take him to a nearby space station.
Soon, inside a gigantic complex used as a stop between planets.
Nothing seems to work. Unless I can revive him quickly, this man will perish and his whole body will crumble to dust.
If the master healer can't save him, nothing can. That medical robot works scientific miracles. But at last, when hope has almost faded, the action ace stirs.
At last, you nearly died, but I saved your life.
What? Why did you do a fool thing like that? I'm over 1,000,000 years old. I've outlived everything and everybody I cared for. I wanted to die. In blind fury, Superman streaks away from the space station.
Stop! The dreaded Magnor comet is due to pass in that direction. Any moment now. It will disintegrate everything in its path. Even you.
That'll suit me fine. Shortly, the red and blue figure is spotted.
So, our first attack didn't finish him, but he could never survive a second one. Death to Superman!
But just as the killer drone is about to sweep in for a fatal blow... Oh, the Magnor Comet! That tiny ship is being destroyed, but I'm not. Helplessly engulfed by the monstrous tail, Superman is whisked along at unimaginable velocity. I've traveled at fantastic speeds before, but nothing like this. I'm cracking through the time barrier, and I can't stop. I'll keep going to the end of time. I'm blacking out. For some time, there is only darkness and oblivion. Then the blackness lifts. My real parents, who died when the planet Krypton exploded. Jor-El and Lara. Am I dead, meeting them in the next world? I'll ask them. But when the Man of Steel opens his mouth, he is startled at his own words.
Me don't want to take nap, Mommy. Me want to play with Crypto. Your puppy will still be here after your nap, Cal.
Mind your mother, son. Great stars, I'm baby Kal-El on Krypton again. Somehow, I'm reliving my life, and I can't even speak a word I didn't speak the first time. So, little cow drifts off to sleep, and when his eyes open, they view a totally different scene. That's Smallville down there, just as it looked when I was Superboy. Now I'm living that part of my life again. Another blackout, another awakening. I'm an adult now, applying for a job at the Daily Planet in my Clark Kent identity. All right, Kent, I'll give you a try. Scene succeeds scene as Superman reenacts his past life until... The computer calendar in my fortress shows this is the day I went into the future and was stranded. Will I have to do that again? No, this is after I left. The time bubble I used is gone. Somehow, this time around, I've cheated my fate. But how? Operable but defective should not be used. Many scientists believe that time curves back on itself, that somewhere the past and future meet. Well, I've just proved it. I traveled so far into the future, I reached my own past. And I got a second chance, just as I gave Earth a second chance in the future. The end.